Lab 11, we looked at the brain. With the brain, it has a number of convolutions on the outer surface, which is the cortex of the brain. The raised areas are the gyri, and the dips are the sulci, or slices. The brain is separated into 5 different lobes. On this brain, we can see 4 of them. This front area, the orange lobe, going back including the red, is the frontal lobe. Then we have the parietal lobe, which is the purplish blue. The temporal lobe, which is near your temples on the ears. And in the very back, we have the occipital lobe. We have one internal lobe, I'll show it to you on another model, and that is called the insula. Now your brain is separated into 2 halves, and they are separated by a large, deep crevice called the longitudinal fissure, and you can see it there pulling apart. And the lobes are separated by deep sulcis. Between your frontal lobe and the parietal lobe, we have the central sulci, right here between the red and the blue coloration. And right in front of the central sulci, we have the primary motor cortex, and right behind it we have the primary somatosensory or sensory cortex. Okay. Now that's looking at the external part of your cerebrum. Now when we take this out, we will look at some of the other external portions of the brain. Starting at the bottom, we have the brain stem, and the brain stem will connect to the spinal cord, and the very base of the brain stem is going to be called the medulla. Then this large swollen area is the pons, and hanging off the back of the brain here is the cerebellum. Now the cerebellum has 2 hemispheres also, okay? And those 2 hemispheres will be separated by a dent called the vermis. Their hemispheres are covered by wrinkles, and these wrinkles are called folia. And if you look internally, you can see from the cross section the medulla, the pons, the cerebellum, and right above the pons we hit the midbrain, which is this area, and then we have the diencephalon, okay. And then we will go up into the cerebrum. Okay. With the internal structure of the cerebellum, you see this white branching coloration. This is called the arbor vitae. Now with our spinal cord, we had the white matter external, the gray matter internal. With the brain, it is the opposite. The gray matter will be more external, the white matter will be more internal. And the gray matter is referred to as the cortex. So we have the cerebellar cortex, and on the next model you will see the cerebral cortex. Now internally here we have a number of different structures. In the area called the diencephalon, it is made up of 4 different structures. It is going to be made up in the center of the thalamus, in the very middle is the intermediate mass of the thalamus. At the base here, this triangular structure is the hypothalamus, and the top of your thalamus will have the epithalamus, and then hanging off it will be a small pineal gland. Okay. And if we rip the tissue off here, living inside the thalamus is the 3rd ventricle. The 3rd ventricle will connect to the 4th ventricle, which is down here by a canal called the cerebral aqueduct. Now if you consider this is the front or anterior of the brain, this is the posterior. On the anterior portion of the brain stem, coming from right below the frontal lobe, we're going to have 3 bumps. We're going to have the optic chiasm, then there would be a pituitary gland, then the mammillary bodies. On the back of the brain stem, the posterior, we will also have 3 bumps. The pineal gland, and then we have the superior colliculi and the inferior colliculi. These make up a group of 4, because there's 2 on either side, and those are called the corpora quadrigemina. And superior colliculi is for visual reflexes, inferior is for auditory reflexes. This mass of tissue right here connects the 2 hemispheres of the cerebrum. It is called the corpus callosum. And then there is a smaller layer of tissue below it, the white, which is the fornix. And underneath this tissue would be where you'd find the lateral ventricle. So you have 1 lateral on this side, 1 on that side. They drain to the 3rd ventricle, which drains to the 4th ventricle. Okay. Now looking at the other brain model, we can look at a few other parts, or at least open it up a little differently. Okay. Here we have the same structure of the different lobes, but here we can see this lobe here, which is your fifth lobe, the insula. It's insulated within the brain. Okay? We can take the top off and we can actually see here the insula, plus we can see the cerebral cortex, the outer gray matter, and then the white matter that is interior. You will find in certain areas clusters of gray matter called basal nuclei, which control various parts of the body and various functions. On this model, we can also see a very nice pineal gland. Here, I mean pituitary gland. Here's your pituitary. So when we go in the front, this is anterior, the frontal lobe, we have the optic chiasm, the pituitary lobe, and then behind it is the mammillary bodies. On the back of the brainstem, we have the pineal gland, and then we have the superior and inferior colliculi.